niching down can help you go big in your Power BI career. Now, I'll take care of the first part, niching down. I can talk on and on about that, but I need some help with the second part. I would like to ask you guys. So again, well, going big in your Power BI career, yes, we all want success in a career, but I want to hear from you. Why does that matter to you? And again, I heard it being echoed so many times in the responses you gave, right? So when I looked at my career, I said, I want to be doing what I love. And there's a side aspect of getting really good at something, which feels good. And you know what doesn't feel good? Feeling like a rookie. And and we're all there, and sure, we all have our days where we feel like a rookie, even if you've been around any technology for many years. But still, I think the easiest path, like this is, by the way, the number one question that I get asked, Avi, how can I get good at Power BI and all this sort of stuff? I'm like, I mean, if you focus on doing what you love, I think that excellence comes almost automatically. I think you can't avoid it. So that I know is huge for me. And the other thing I saw in a lot of your responses too, Raquel talked about helping younger generations and so forth. We do want to make an impact. We do want to leave a legacy in some way. We want to do good in this world because it just feels so good. And I do believe in that, helping others is the best way to help yourself. It's, and I think it's not even this karma thing where you do good now and some good will happen to you later. No, I mean, I feel I get something out of it instantly. And for one, I learn so much when I'm trying to teach or help or train or consult with somebody else, right? So there's a lot of good stuff there. That's important to me. That's what I want to be doing with my time. And the last thing, uh, that's new when I was in the employee mindset. Frankly, it's not about being an employee, but the employee mindset, man, that can bring you down. So for me, I do want a life of freedom. And again, this can be things that are important to you. Um, my parents are in India, they're aging. I want to be able to spend months there. I've already spent 3 or 4 months in India this year. I'm going there again in December. That's important to me. Of course, my kids, I want to be able to be around them, spend time with them. So really, yeah, choose the hours I work, choose the place where I work, and also really importantly, choose the people that I work with. And so yeah, so I like that idea. And if you think about it, I know we spend more time at work than we do with a family. But I meet people who have kind of compromised, like, oh yeah, work is gonna suck. The world that I want to create? I want to create a world where there are no Monday blues. Why should we be blue on Monday? And why should we be thanking God it's Friday? I want to create a world where we thank God every single day. We jump out of a bed and we get joy and satisfaction out of our work, and yeah, we celebrate every day. Yeah, so that's kind of my mission. But again, so I heard a lot of this here, which is always I'm like, wow, yeah, I'm not a weirdo. There are others like me. That's amazing. So yeah, so I'll say hold on to that why. Hold on to the why. That is important. That is a true north. Let that guide you, because there's going to be a lot of crossroads, right? Or a lot of choices. And when I was an employee, and again with that employee mindset, it seemed like opportunities are limited. They're not, right? And again, it took me to leave my job, but you don't have to do that to realize that opportunities are actually unlimited, and it's about choosing. It's about choice. All right, Raquel gives me a go. Yes. Okay, let's do it. So the starting is easy. Don't do what I did. Yeah. So some of you may know me from my YouTube channel, and yeah, I mean, I feel incredibly humble. So yep, it's crossed 100,000 subscribers some time ago, and I run the Learn Power BI program, and we have thousands of members all across the world. And the odd thing is that the part where I get the most satisfaction from is this really small group program that we run, where yeah, I help others try to get to this goal. And in a way, we're doing it together, right? It's again, it's not like, oh yeah, guys, I did it. I'm an expert. I'm going to teach you. No, we're learning this together. We're figuring this out together. So yeah, that's been an incredible journey. But I didn't start here, right? So where I started um, was here. So I had spent about 15 years in corporate America, had my highs, had my lows, Had a layoff, which was quite traumatic. I mean, aren't they all? Um, it was really painful. The timing was really bad. I was laid off right around when my daughter was about to be born. Yeah, so it totally messed me up. But hey, I ended up at Microsoft. So yeah, things were good, I guess. I was making good money. And finally, after scraping for all these years, I had made it to the mythical six-figure level, right? That's 100K plus, right? And I was like, oh my God, right? So, and I settled down in Seattle, had a home, had a family, and things should have been great. They looked great on paper. If people looked at me, it's like, Avi, look at you, great life, man. But I didn't feel that great. I mean, for one, that six-figure mark, that felt like a curse more than a blessing. It felt like a burden because I was constantly scared and afraid, like, shit, if I get laid off again, who's gonna pay me the same amount? I wasn't sure, right? I mean, I just wasn't sure. And you guys talked about that, right? I mean, so your stability and confidence, job, and so forth. And I didn't feel like I had it because it feels like I was always struggling and always afraid somewhat. And this is what I felt like I was up against. And that's why it felt like kind of like a sand dune. So there was the technology thing, the ever changing, ever shifting technology. There was always more to learn. And yeah, there were these young kids, young upstarts in the market, in my team even, who just seemed to be smarter than me. And I was trying so hard to keep up with them. I remember so the master's in computer science that Mark mentioned, and yeah, I got that. But man, I got that just as my son was born. He's our first child. And like I missed out on the first 2 years of his life because I was busy doing homework. So I was struggling hard doing all of that stuff, trying to keep up with people who seemed to be smarter. I mean, I had studied COBOL in college. And of course, these kids were coming out with all the latest stuff, the acronyms that I didn't even know. And of course, the other part, they were willing to work harder. Now, man, I had put in my hours when I had started my career in US. I had just gotten married, and uh, my wife would come to I was working at AOL, America Online. She would come to the campus to visit me in the evening, 6 to 6:30. We would walk around the campus, and then she would go home just so we could spend some time together. And of course, I would go back to my desk. She would go back home. And that's how it went. And yeah, so it's and I would like to say that things improved, but again, I went through the layoff, which totally messed me up. After the layoff, I ended up in Microsoft, but I had this thing hanging over my head that, oh my God, I'm going to work so hard that they can never lay me off. Now, of course, now when I look back, I know that that's extremely stupid. Layoffs don't work that way. It's like an axe falling, and you're from the wrong side, you're gone, no matter how hard you worked or how smart you were. But yeah, but I worked extra hard, so so I poured myself in there. But man, the third one was a whammy, and I really didn't know how to deal with this, which was how do you, I mean, yeah, there were people who were obviously they were younger kids or abroad in India, China, elsewhere. Microsoft, we had a dev team in China. Yeah, they were willing to work for less. So they seemed to be smarter, which I was trying really hard to climb up that sand dune. They were willing to work harder, which I would try to keep up, even though I had a family and I wanted to take care of, be around them. I wanted to take care of my health and fitness. So it was a struggle, but I didn't know how to do this one. Like, what do I do? I mean, I take a pay cut. I mean, that's not the answer. It can't be. But I was constantly afraid of that. And that's why that fear that if I get laid off, who's going to hire me at this six-figure plus salary? I don't know. Maybe somebody would, maybe somebody wouldn't. Now, I just want to hear from you. Like, I hope I'm not the only one. Have you guys kind of faced this? Maybe you've faced one more than the other, um, especially about the tech cycle. I mean, God, how do you feel every time the Power BI monthly update comes along? I mean, do you feel like you're staying on top of that? So yeah, just type it in. Yeah, yeah. So man, as I said, yeah, I mean, this was a struggle for me. And again, the irony was that from the outside, it looked so perfect. And my life seems so perfect. Everybody would say, yeah, Avi, right? Microsoft, home, family, you got it, you know? And I'm like, oh shit, I wish I felt that way. Martin duck and cover. Yeah, I always feel a bit behind, overwhelmed. Yeah, great. So thanks. Both excited and dreadful. That's true. I mean, Teresa, I like that sentiment. It's like, yeah, we can feel excited about that too. Clearly, I was not in that mental state at that point in time, but I can see it now. That's great. Overwhelmed monthly. Yeah, great. So this is what I call the unwinnable game. I really don't think that you can win this game. You can play it all day long, but again, it's like climbing on a sand dune. For one, you're going to take 2 steps forward, you're going to slide back down, and then you reach at the top, you celebrate, yay! And then you wake up the next morning and shit, the sand dune is moved, right? So, you're somewhere else. So I don't think you can win this game. So, of course, what's the answer? The answer is really simple. So we don't realize we can do it. Well, if you can't win the game, you got to change the game. All right, so let's switch gears and let's talk about that. How to change the game. So you know that don't do what I did. Right? I was trying so hard to climb up on that sand dune. Let's talk about an alternative. So again, this is kind of what I've experienced through my own painful journey. But then I was so lucky to start this teaching program. That's what I was talking about. I feel like I've learned so much more by trying to teach and help others, teach them Power BI, help them through the careers than anything else, right? So don't do what I did, do what these guys are doing, right? So these are some of my students. Mostly the folks in our higher level program, the Power BI consultant program. But again, this applies both to consultant employees, doesn't matter. Yeah, it's about getting in control of your life, of your destiny. All right, great. So how do you change the game? Okay, let's go to part 2. So for this, I want you to think about a business area that you have focused on. Maybe it's one, maybe it's a few, but just pick one, right? So, and I actually bounced around quite a few of them. I've probably worked in each one of these listed here: finance, sales, marketing, operations, support, and whatever other business function is there, right? And then, so pick one of them, right? So let's pick finance, and I want you to imagine and line up all the people who work in that specific industry, right? So again, if you picked sales, imagine everybody works in sales in this whole world. Let's just line them up, right? So you see that, close your eyes if you need to. I often do when I'm trying to visualize, right? So see them, see a whole long line of them. Now think about the number of them who know about Power BI, right? And that's pretty small. I know it's growing fast, but it's still pretty small. But frankly, that part doesn't matter because you and I know that the people who really know Power BI, that is much smaller. So again, right? I mean, I see people trying to use Power BI like Excel, right? I mean, they keep adding columns. And I see them trying to use it like SQL to keep writing DAX queries, right? Because that's what they did in SQL. And of course, maybe my favorite, they try to use it like PowerPoint, right? So yeah, if you've seen any of that, right, people trying to use it like Excel, SQL, or PowerPoint, put that in chat. I'd love to hear from you, right? So there's a lot of that. There's a very few who really kind of understand it, right? Who understand the modeling, the query editor, the DAX, and realize that visualization is important too, right? And of course, there's that other crowd which treats it just like the old data warehouse tools. It's not that old school tool. So again, right, the people who really get it, they're very few. I would say they are 1%. No more. That's a very aggressive estimate. So again, think about all of those salespeople we lined up, and now the people who really know this stuff, they're really small, really elite. And that is the way to succeed, right? So you don't focus on deck. So many people ask me this question, right? So again, the number one question that I get is like, Avi, when will I be good enough? When will I know enough Power BI, right? And the other one is like, do I need to learn fill in the blank, right? And then they have SQL, R, Python, Azure, this, that, and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, oh god, if you if you can't build a career on that foundation, because again, it's the sand dune. You're always going to be struggling. But you can do this. And that's what it's all about, right? So it's so simple. You got to niche down with a specific business focus. Now, what I'll say is that this is almost the right answer, but not quite. We're pretty close. But yeah, I talked about some of my members. I'm just going to talk about one because it's a great example. So Greg Berg, and this guy's all about coffee. So he helps specialty coffee company, right? So not your big chain and so forth. Yeah, these guys who care about where the coffee is being sourced from. I'm not a coffee drinker, but you know that you get that cup of coffee and it's like, I don't know, shade grown and trade free and all that sort of stuff. Right? Yeah, so he works with those guys and helps them with Power BI. So that's his kind of business focus, and he's helping them with Power BI. And again, you find him on LinkedIn, and yep, it's like, hey, I help leaders in coffee and manufacturing industry. This is his website. Like, yep, let's talk coffee. They got one of his clients, and so his work really was featured by Microsoft as well in a case study. And yeah, so that's the answer. Now, I did say that this is close, but not quite the right answer. But all you have to do is just switch these two, right? So again, I talked about Greg Berg. So the way he positions himself is that I help specialty coffee industry companies with Power BI. Then there's Raul Jimenez, who's like, oh, I help warehouses with inventory using Power BI. Ian Bowman is like, oh, I help construction companies with Power BI. Frank Van Delden, healthcare finance folks with Power BI. Andrew Ollie, he helps faith-based nonprofits with Power BI. Tom Richards, he helps HVAC and plumbing companies with Power BI. So again, you put the business focus first, and it changes the game. So for one, technology, there was a yeah, technology is always changing, but if you focus it this way, I mean, if Power BI does go away in a few years, it's not going to happen in a hurry. Power BI is pretty robust technology. It's here to stay for a while, but who knows? 10 years, man, everything can change in tech, right? But again, frankly, these guys, it's not even going to be a hiccup for them. They just drop that last part because, again, they're focusing on business. They're focusing on serving that niche and serving their problems. That part is not going to change. Business, by the way, if you're not a business owner yourself, if you're a business owner, you're gonna get this totally. If you're not, then you should. Business is the business of solving problems. So that's not my line. My coach gave it to me, and somebody was complaining about, man, there's so many problems. When is it going to end? He's like, no, you don't get it. Business is the business of solving problems. It never ends. So if you don't enjoy that part, well, get out of it. So that part is not going to change, and that's what they're focused on. That's how they're serving. Power BI is just a tool, just a means to an end. All right, cool. Let's go back and revisit the unwinnable game. This is my favorite part. So man, this seems so insurmountable. It's like, oh my God, the sand dune, how do I get on top? They're smarter, they work harder for less money. Here's how you compete. Well, frankly, there's no competition. So the challenge is, so we don't quite understand. So for one, I remember when I would be job hunting, and it seemed like so painful, so painful. If any one of you right now is in that spot where you're in between jobs, I think you're going to love this piece, right? And of course, if you ever end up in that situation. So job hunting was so painful, but I didn't understand why. Now I do, because job seekers and employers, they think totally differently, almost diametrically opposite. So the job seeker, we usually try to be efficient, and so and that, I know that's what I did, right? So my default mode was work on my resume, sometimes spend a lot of time in my resume, and then just blast it out as much as I can, right? So hundreds of people. So again, we're looking for efficiency. But what is the person who's hiring? And again, if they're hiring a consultant or employee, doesn't matter. It's the same thing. What are they looking for? I never knew. I never, frankly, even thought about it, right? They are looking to minimize their risk. So one thing that I didn't know is that most jobs are filled before they're advertised. That is the last resort. When they publish their job and they get a stack of resume which you have to sift through, anybody who's hired knows you hate it. They hate it. This is the last resort. Most jobs are filled before they advertise because, again, who are they going to hire? They're going to hire somebody they can trust, they can know, they can validate their work, things like that, right? So again, that's why hiring job was such a struggle. So again, now that you understand that they're trying to minimize the risk, Greg Baird walks in and, when he speaks, man, it's like music. It's so beautiful because he's going to tell you the challenges that roasteries have, how they're trying to, how they get these batches that they need to roast, and how, if it is not organized using Power BI, then it's very creates havoc, right? Then they have to they roast one batch and then they have to shift the machines and now we're doing decaf, and that takes a lot of work. It creates a lot of inefficiency. Now, frankly, I wish he was there to talk about it because, again, he speaks so eloquently about it. Imagine him in the room trying to get that job. Well, he's a consultant or trying to get that consulting gig. So he's there, he's talking about this. He really has worked with this client. He has proof and testimonials. He can talk about that. He can speak their language. And in comes somebody who knows more DAX. I know more DAX. Hey, I'm a DAX ninja, right? They're smarter. They're willing to work harder. They're willing to work for less. But again, no competition. It's not even a competition because, again, the way employees hire, we know that a bad hire, how expensive it can be, right? So it's not just the money you pay them, but the time suck, right? And of course the energy suck, and right. So yeah, it's there's no competition here. In fact, it gets better. This disadvantage, where there are other people who are smarter, they work harder for less money, is actually now an advantage for Greg Berg because he looks out for these people and he hires them for, well, much less than what he gets paid. But, that's the game because those guys are, busy kind of, trying to crawl over each other on that sand dune, right? So, yep, he has a pick of the market and he can hire them because they don't have this edge that he has, the specialty coffee industry. Whew. All right. So, so sometimes there can be this resistance, and we'll talk about that. I would love to dive more deeper into Q&A and answer that there's this resistance. Oh yeah, there's this fear. But I will say that if you try to be everything to everyone, you become nothing to no one. And frankly, people don't trust you. It's not very believable when you list all those things and it's like, yeah, I can do everything. Well, you know what they say, right? I'm jack of all trades. Well, we all know how to finish that sentence. You don't want to be that. Cool. So, hey, my call to action for you is, yeah, don't be a Power BI professional. Be a business professional in a targeted industry. Define your niche, own that niche, and just leverage Power BI. It's just a tool. All right, folks. So, hey, I love taking questions at the end because I know career is such a personal, intimate thing because our career and lives are so intertwined, and it's a lot about what's going on right now. Every situation is very specific. But yeah, this is my mission. If you need, so I would love to talk about that. I know if there are questions around specific niche, common ones I get is like, oh, but I don't want to miss out on opportunities. I don't want to lock myself in. Some people ask about, oh, how do I choose it? How do I decide? Can I change it? Or really, if you have any other Power BI career related question, love to answer that. But I do want to leave you with some of the resources. One, of course, check out my site, learnpowerbi.com. Again, you can check out the training and coaching programs. LinkedIn is where I'm most active. So, yep, follow me there. I'm often posting videos around career and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, that's it. That's me. Again, learnpowerbi.com and find me on LinkedIn.